Hello. Okay, I'm live. That took a moment. Hello, hello. Okay, I am trying to change my Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi in my room is pretty low. I'm trying to change my Wi-Fi. I'm also trying to let folks know on other platforms that I am here, but I am right here. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's been a little while since I did a live on here. I'm excited to be back. I actually really love doing lives and live Q and A's. So it's been a little while since I did a live on here. Okay, and I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to switch Wi-Fi. It wasn't showing up before the live. So, hey everybody, I am very excited. I just finished 45, about just a little over, I think, 45 days in Vietnam, and thought I'd come here and chat about it. I haven't done a Sunday session in a while. Originally, my plan was to do two Sunday sessions a month and come and hang out with you guys and either introduce new people to talk about new topics or to let y'all in my business. And let's talk about whatever you want. And today we are going to talk about being in Vietnam for 45 days. And I will answer questions about that. So I'm going to start with the questions that were posted to Instagram because I posted this on Instagram and was like, ask me questions, ask me anything um, that you want to know. And let me take a picture of y'all so I can let them know. Y'all take a picture of the live and let folks know that I'm live. I was told them I would answer the Instagram questions first. So that's what I'm about to do. Pull up these good Instagram questions, answer those. But in the meantime, if you have questions for me, drop them in the comment section and let's talk about it. So, a little bit of background. I went to Vietnam January 20th. I went to Vietnam on January 20th to visit my friend's family for Lunar New Year. So I do not subscribe to the your coworkers are not your friends mentality. I understand why we feel that way, totally get it. And not all of your coworkers are your friends, right? A lot of people be like, your coworkers are not your friends, they ain't your friends, so you making friends at work. Child, we spend over a third of our days with our coworkers, either virtually or in person. Like, we spend a lot of time with these people. How do you not make friends at work? I have made some of my closest friends at work. My good friend Zena, who we've been tight for years. We go on trips together. We keep each other's kids. We, talk almost every day. Um, I met her at work. We both went to FAMU, but I didn't know her at FAMU. I met her at work. Also, I have several other friends that I made at work. But anyway, this story is getting too long. I made a friend. My last job, my work bestie was a Vietnamese guy named Lum, and he invited me to his wedding in Vietnam. And that is how I met his wife's family. She's from a small village south of Hanoi, which is a city in the north side of the state, the country. Um, and went to the wedding and had an amazing time. And honestly, he was like, "You're probably the only Black person that's ever been to this village." So, and they treated me so well. It was like I was a long lost cousin or something. It's crazy because before I went, I was like, "Lum, have you told them that I'm Black?" And he was like, "Nah, because it doesn't matter." And I'm like, "It doesn't matter to you. Like, it matters to me that they know." Um, anyway, they literally, I felt like a cousin who just hadn't been home in a very long time. I felt like her parents were my aunt and uncle. And they had been asking me to come back. One day I came over their house for dinner in Atlanta, and she was on the phone with her parents, and her parents were like, "When is she coming back? Tell her she has to come back." And like, You and Lum don't have to be here. She can come back on her own. In my opinion, they do. Her parents do not speak any English, and neither does most people in her village. So I'm like, I'll wait until they come back. And they said they were coming back for Lunar New Year this year. Last year when we talked about it, they said they were coming back for Lunar New Year this year. And so I was like, oh, I'm down. Let's go. So that is why I ended up going to Vietnam. My intentions were always to stay for at least a month. After I went the first time, I really kind of rushed through my visit and didn't get to really enjoy the city. Vietnam is, if you've ever looked at Vietnam on the map, it's a pretty long country. So you've got cities in the north. The climates and the landscapes are very different than the cities in the south and along the coast. And so it's got a lot to offer, a lot of variety to offer. And I did not necessarily have an appreciation for that. The first time I went, it was like I'm going to Saigon, which is Ho Chi Minh City, and I'm going to Hanoi. And that's pretty much it. I wanted to go see the Golden Hands Bridge, but didn't realize it's not that close to either of those cities. And then the person that I was traveling with, another coworker who is my friend, wanted to go to Thailand. So we end up leaving Vietnam to go to Thailand as well. So I really just did not get to spend time in Vietnam. And so that is why I decided to stay in Vietnam for an entire month. I posted a whole lot of videos about it. I posted a whole lot of information about, what I did in Vietnam in my last life update. So that is the last video that I posted. I posted it on Saturday? Yesterday. So anyway, I am here to answer questions that y'all have about me being in Vietnam. Since y'all are quiet and not asking questions, let me go ahead and answer the questions that are on Instagram. Just note, this is an Ask Me Anything Sunday session. I'm going to yap about my trip to Vietnam, and y'all can ask me whatever you want in the chat. Oh, let me share this copy. Ask me whatever you want in the chat. I will tell you, Vietnam has been amazing. I am so glad that I went. I said in my live update that I feel like serendipity lives in Vietnam. Like serendipity's address has to be Vietnam. Let me ask y'all a question while I'm trying to stall and pull up these questions. It's Sunday night. How y'all doing? I know things in the US are crazy right now. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Let me know in the comments. And are you cooking Sunday dinner? What are you cooking? What are you cooking? Let me know in the comments if it's Sunday dinner, if you guys are on Sunday dinner, because I know it's like 6 o'clock for my East Coasters. It's 5 a.m. for me. It's 5 o'clock in the morning for me. So it is early, y'all. I got up early to chat with y'all. Real early. Okay, I starred your question, Nike. I starred your question. I'm going to answer the questions on Instagram real quick. Somebody said no questions right now. Just great to see you. So nice. I've kind of been low key on social media aside from posting my weekly vlogs. Honestly, I spent February really, really, really focused on my healthy habits routines and being super solid on them the entire month of February. And I also only worked 4 hours a day and, kind of tried to take it a bit light. And I worked on a project that I've been wanting to work on for years, since like 2019. So that is kind of where a lot of my attention went in February. So I wasn't doing these Sunday sessions. And I was fulfilling this coaching program that I had sold. So in December, I sold a really focused remote work coaching program. And so a lot of my attention and energy went to that versus creating content and stuff like that. So somebody said they missed me. And I hadn't shared stories in a while either. Somebody said, can you, hey friends, we missed you. Can you start planning trips again, please? Can you start planning trips again, please? I don't know. I kind of want to. I keep saying I'm going to start again, to be honest with you. If you don't already know, I took a group of people around the world for an entire year back in 2016. 2016, I took my daughter and a group of mainly Black women. It was 2 Black men and 1 white woman. And we left the US on July 31st. 2016. And our travel path was we did Prague, Czech Republic for 3 months. We did Chiang Mai, Thailand for 3 months. We did Cape Town, South Africa, and then we went to Medellin, Colombia for 3 months. So we traveled the world for an entire year. And then I also started a community called Wandering Moms for moms that want to travel with their children. And we started hosting group trips as well. So I ran mainly, we ran family trips, but also trips just for moms. So I started this Mother's Day trip, and no children were allowed on our Mother's Day trips. And we would spoil the mess out of these women. In fact, we called our first trip, the name of it was Spoiled. No children were allowed on our Mother's Day trip because who trying to mom on Mother's Day? Like, who trying to do this? And we've been doing this since 2015. I stopped running trips maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I honestly just kind of got burnt out on it. And no, I stopped running trips in 2021. I think the last group trip I ran in was in 2021. We took a group of moms to South Africa for Mother's Day. Um, yeah, I keep threatening to do it again. I also did some 1 month trips as well. I ran a few of those. So I'm thinking about doing that again. I also am thinking about maybe doing a couple of like 2 week experiences, hosted experiences, so that folks can experience some of the things that I've experienced. Um, and it be more like a hosted experience where I'm not necessarily running a trip, but I am there with you and I plan out things, for you to do and stuff like that. But it's not like I'm a tour operator or a trip operator, if that makes sense. Let me know what you think about that, to the person that asked that question or anybody else watching. So I might start running trips again. I just want you to know, a lot of people are getting into the group trip game. It's a lot of work. I will tell you that it's a lot of work. And if you've ever looked at a group trip and thought people are getting rich off them, they ain't. When you think about the amount of money that people put into these, a lot of times they're doing an exploratory trip beforehand. And then they do a whole lot of planning leading up to that. And then they have to do all this marketing. And then they have to do all this stuff communicating with you before the trip. And then, the actual running of the trip, y'all, if you took that and turned it into a per hour rate, ain't nobody getting rich off these trips. Okay. It's just no. So you'll be fine. Someone else asked, are you still going to Afrofest in Portugal? So one of my friends and I are talking about going to Afrofest in Portugal, which is in July. I'm gonna be real honest right now. I don't even know where I'm going next month. I am in a space where, and it feels really good. I am in a space where I don't have real plans. Like, I have some ideas of where I want to be over the next several months. I am thinking about this where I am now. I'm at a retreat and it ends April 5th. I'm supposed to leave April 5th. And so I'm thinking about going to South Korea for a week. And then after that, I would like to be in Rwanda. I may go to South Africa, or I may go straight to Rwanda for a month. I know for a fact that I will be in Madagascar at the end of May. And that's it. That's all I know for a fact. Everything else is kind of up in the air. I can be wherever I want to be. And it's crazy to say that out loud because this is the life I dreamed about. Like, I get to be wherever I want to be. I made a post in like 2019. I wonder if I can pull it up. I made a post in like 2019 talking about how when my daughter graduates from high school, I want to retire from being location dependent. And it's crazy because I looked up and was like, oh crap, I am actually living that right now. I've been living it for, hold on. Excuse me, guys. I've been living that since 2023. Now, mind you, I was mainly nomadic around the United States. I was traveling outside, but not for any extended period of time, mainly because I needed to feel comfortable that my daughter was settled and had a plan for her life and all of this. And now that she does, and she's in school and she's doing well, I done chucked the deuces, y'all. Like, I've been out. I've been in these streets. Where is this post? Oh, here it is. Is this it? Yeah. Let me see if I can share this. I shared this on December 2019. Present. Share screen. Window. Here we go. You got to do a lot. There we go. Oh, look, there it is. It says it's work from anywhere. It's work from anywhere. Well, blah 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 blah. It's work from anywhere Wednesday, and I want to tell you about my big plans. I want to retire when my daughter graduates from high school in 2 years. Not retire from working, but retire from being anchored to the U.S. I want to travel the world and live in different places for 3 to 6 months at a time. Crazy, right? Like I said, I wanted to do this, and I am actually doing it. So that said, friend, Afropunk, Afrofest, or Afro Nation is what she meant. Afro Nation in Portugal is July. I would love to go. I don't know where I'm going to be in July. No idea. Like, I still got to figure out April. Like, literally, one of my goals this week, this month, is to figure out where the heck I'm going to be in April. And having unlimited options is great, and also at the same time a little bit overwhelming because, like, where I'm gonna go? Like, I'm struggling from having to make all these decisions. I don't know. Anybody else thinking about going to Afro Nation in Portugal? Let me know in the comments if y'all are thinking about going to Afro Nation in Portugal. So Afro Nation, they actually have it in Miami, they do it in Detroit, and they also do it in Portugal. I feel like they do it in a couple other cities, but I don't remember what those are. But it's a vibe. And I have a friend in Portugal who throws like this, dope after party for Afro Nation as well. He is the guy that runs the Black Lisbon History Tour. That is my homie, Nike. I actually have flown to Porto to go to one of his parties. Like, landed in Lisbon, hit him up and was like, "Hey, are you throwing any parties this weekend?" I just got to Lisbon, and he was like, "Actually, I'm throwing a party in Porto." And I was like, "Bet." Me and my girls booked a flight to Porto like that day and went to his party in Porto. Amazing. Had a great time. Okay, moving on to the next question. Somebody asked, do you prefer living out of the country, especially with all the craziness in the US? I feel like that's a heavy question for me. God, I feel like I could do a whole video just on that question. Do I prefer living out of the US? So I feel a few ways about this. I have always preferred the concept of freedom. I have always preferred to decide where I want to be and what I'm doing. And so I love and prefer to have the option to be wherever I want to be. I will say also that I know that a lot of the US is a crazy place, especially right now. And I do know a lot of people don't want to live in the US at all. And I completely understand why. For me, I also recognize that I have a lot of privilege comes with being an American. A lot of privilege comes along with having a blue passport and speaking a global language. Pretty much wherever I go, somebody about to speak some English. Almost everywhere I go, there's a Starbucks, right? Almost everywhere I go, I have options in English. There are signs in English. I did say almost, but there is a whole lot of privilege that comes with being an American. Hey, girl. And I do enjoy that. I also have to be honest that I enjoy some of the benefits of living in America, right? There are a whole lot of conveniences that come with being in the US. The biggest part of being in the US is there are so many things and people that I love. And so I don't know that I ever see myself leaving the US and just kind of quitting being there. A lot of people do that. They leave the US and they just kind of never go back, or they only go back for the holidays. I don't know that I ever see myself doing that. And so on the other hand, though, there are some huge benefits to not being in the States, especially like right now. So the last time this happened, the last time that dude was elected, I was not in the US either. And it was fantastic being outside of, like, in a bubble almost, like seeing what's happening over there. Um, I and even now, it's like I've just found out Angie Stone died 2 days ago. Like 2 days ago, I was like, Angie Stone died? What the heck? And so I'm a bit behind on some of the things that are happening in the United States. And it honestly feels really good to be behind on stuff. Like it's so many unprecedented things happening in the United States, and it is really good not to be so fully exposed to it. Don't get me wrong, I see what's happening. People post stuff on the interwebs, but yeah, it feels good. So, do I prefer living outside of the United States? I think there's a lot of very huge benefits to being outside of the United States. I cannot lie that there are also benefits in general of being in the United States as well, for me. And so I think the right answer for me is my preference is and will always be to have the freedom to choose where I am whenever. And right now, I choose to be here. But yeah, I don't hate the United States. I love the freedom to be wherever I want, and I absolutely am not going to pretend like I am not privileged to be traveling as someone from the United States, where English is my first language, and am I have U.S. dollars in my bank account, which usually is stronger than the currency of the countries that I'm going to. And my passport affords me entry into a lot of countries, and almost everywhere I go, I have access to English speakers. Um, that makes it so much easier to move around the world. Who knows what's about to happen with all these new changes to immigrations and what people do, what countries decide to do from a parity perspective, or I think that's what it's called when they're mirroring some of the rules that are imposed upon them. We'll see. We'll see. But honestly, truthfully, my preference. I will tell you one of the things I don't like. I'm sorry, I need to plug my computer up. One of the things that I realized the last time I left the U.S. for like a year is there is definitely an ease to life, and one of the things that I want to call out is that there is an ease to life in other places, mainly because of the benefits of being American, right? Because you go to places like, Thailand, and life is easy here for us. But when you start to, meet local folks, there are a lot of the people that you interact with on a daily basis, either because they're in service to you, you're at a restaurant, or you're going to get a massage or something. Life is not necessarily easy for them, and so I'm traveling, understanding that I'm carrying privilege with me from being an American, but I do agree there is a life of ease, and I think the biggest thing for me is being outside of some of the cultural challenges of being an American. And I'm not even going to hit on racism and discrimination and all that stuff, because that's none of us like that, right? I'm talking about cultural things like overworking, capitalism, and materialism. One of the biggest challenges for me when I moved back to the United States after being gone for a year was the immense amount of materialism I suddenly felt. Like for a whole year, I traveled with one carry-on bag and one checked bag. I wore probably the same 5 outfits every week. All the little stuff that I kept from selling off all my stuff was in storage. And I had a great year. And I get back to the States, and all of a sudden I want all the clothes, I want all the home decor, I want all the outfits, I want all the accessories, I want shoes. And it was like it came rushing to me. It's like immediate materialism overload. That is one of the things that I do not like about being in the US. Our heavy consumerism is wild to me. And it's crazy how easy it is to fold into that mentality of needing and wanting things a lot. And I am not even really a things person. My mom likes to buy me things because my mom is a things person. And I'm usually like, thank you. I don't want, where am I gonna put this? Anyway, I'm not a minimalist by any means, but I hope that answered your question. That was a really long answer. Someone asked, so she didn't, this isn't a question. She just said, I love your reels. I'm so afraid to travel to Asia. I'm just very curious. So this is not the first person I've heard say that. I've heard a couple of people say they are afraid to travel to Asia. I'd love to know what you're afraid of. Like, and I don't mean that question like, how dare you be afraid? I am genuinely curious of what it is that, what specifically it is that you're afraid of, especially in Asia, because she signified, singled out Asia. She specifically said she's afraid of traveling in Asia. So I'm just curious about what the fear is around Asia. So if you're watching this, let me know. Or if you're someone who has fears around traveling to Asia, let me know. Somebody said they read my email newsletter and was cackling. Yo, the newsletter was crazy today, this week. Y'all got it this morning. Yeah, y'all got it this morning. It was crazy. I was wilding out. Hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, the next question is, what fitness retreat are you attending in Thailand? I'm at a fitness retreat in Thailand right now. It's called Action Point. So that is the fitness retreat I'm at. It's great. Can you offer advice on planning trips to foreign countries, websites, apps? Ooh, I'd say, let's see, if I were to plan a trip to another country, websites and apps I would recommend. Honestly, Instagram and TikTok are fantastic. Like, you do a search for, I have all these folders. Let me show you. I have all these folders on Instagram. You guys probably have this too. Instagram feels like Pinterest in some cases. I have all these folders for all these countries. When I follow content creators and they post stuff. Can you guys see this? Probably not. I have all these folders. Oh, yeah, it's not loading yet. So that's a Bali folder right there. I have all these folders for different countries because people share their experiences in places. North Carolina, Phuket. That's a makeup one. Oh, Japan. I do plan to go to Japan in September. That I do know. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be in Hawaii in September as well. Anyway, so what happens is when I see stuff, like I don't have to be going somewhere. I just know I want to go there. And so I start saving things. Instagram and TikTok have a whole lot of good content about like things to do and things people have done. That's a great place to start to get ideas. Another thing that you want to do, of course, is go to the State Department's website. I like to go to the State Department's website, and I like to go to the country's immigration website as well to understand what are the entry requirements. And this is gonna answer someone's question. Do you have to get a visa? Do you have to get a visa? So you want to know the entry requirements to the country that you're going to. And more specifically, you want to know, especially if you're going to country hop, actually couple things that are more specific. You want to know the entry requirements for you coming from your home country. But if you are visiting multiple countries, you also want to know the entry requirements coming from those countries as well. Let me break down what I just said. So there are entry requirements as a US citizen, right? So blue passport, you may need to have 6 months validity on your passport. You may need to have at least 2 blank pages. Some countries are a bit strict about the quality of your passport, meaning like it's not all messed up and ripped. There's no ripped pages and things like that. So you want to check into that. But also if you are visiting, let's say you're going to South Africa and you're coming from Brazil. This is a real example. You have the requirements for you to enter as an American, but there may be some requirements for you coming from another country. So one of my friends years ago got to South Africa, got to Cape Town for the first time. She had never been before. And I happened to be there. And she ended up having to get sent right on back because she was coming from Brazil and she only looked at the requirements as an American visiting the country. But the country also had specific requirements if you're coming from certain countries. So she needed to have a yellow fever card. Yellow fever card is not required for Americans visiting South Africa, but it is required if you're coming from Brazil, and she didn't have that. And so they sent her right on back to Brazil. She had to get a yellow fever card and then come back. So you want to check What are the requirements to enter the country? And if you are country hopping, you need to see if there are requirements coming from different countries. So those are two very important things to figure out. And the other thing that it's important to figure out is if you are traveling with minor children, and you are not traveling with both parents whose names are on the birth certificate, you need to find out what the requirements are. Some countries will require you to have a letter, a notarized letter, giving permission for you to travel with that child. And some countries will require you to fill out one of their forms. They have their own forms and get it notarized. And some countries will also require you to have a picture of the other parent's identification. So having a court order is really, really good. If you have a court order that says you have permission to travel anywhere with that child, great. If the other parent's name is not on the birth certificate, then you're fine. But you do need to look into what the requirements are. For most countries, that does not apply at a certain age. Keep in mind, the US, your children can get a passport without the other parent's permission at age 16, but some countries still require the other parent's permission until they're 18. So you want to make sure you look into that. Don't get somewhere and get turned around because you don't have permission to travel with your child. And some people are like, why are they doing that? Like, this is my kid. Totally get that. But like kidnapping, international kidnapping is a thing. And there are countries all over the world that are just trying to crack down on international kidnapping. So we got to widen the lens and not just look at this from the whole like US cultural co-parenting lens and look at this from truly a global issue lens, right? So those are two things I would look into. Did you have to get a visa for Vietnam? Yes, I did. You can apply for the visa online. I do think you can also do an in-person visa, but it's better to just do the visa before you get there online. They have two visas. There's a single entry visa and a dual entry visa. For Vietnam, the single entry visa is $35. If you are just going to Vietnam, that's all you really need. If you are going to Vietnam and then you want to go to another country and maybe come back to Vietnam, which is what I did the first time I was here, I came into Hanoi. Yeah, I came into Hanoi. I left and went to Thailand and then came back into Ho Chi Minh City. So that would be a dual entry visa. That is, I think, $60. I think it's just double the price. I will tell you the visa process is a little annoying because they basically make you like take a picture, upload your passport, and then take a picture of your passport, upload it, and then take a picture of yourself. And it's comparing your picture to the passport to make sure you are who you are. And then you have to fill out all this stuff. And sometimes like the drop downs don't work. It's a little annoying, but it's straightforward. If you are getting a visa for Vietnam, it takes about, they say 3 business days. I'd say give yourself 5 to 7 business days to fill it out. So fill it out at least 7 days before your trip, maybe even 14. I think my visa took about 3 or 4 days to get. I also was going during Lunar New Year. So, people was off work, child. People was off work. I keep trying to send this email to my email list to remind them that I'm live right now. But I'm talking to y'all. Let's see what other questions we have. Great question. But yes, you do have to get a visa to visit Vietnam. If you are a US citizen, let me caveat this. If you are a US citizen, you need a visa. I do not know the requirements for anyone else. I have only researched it for being a US citizen. You do need a visa to visit, and you can get it online. You can apply for it online. How do you find safe, fabulous, and catfish-proof places to stay at? Catfish-proof is hilarious. Could I be honest with you guys? I know, like, we ain't rocking with Airbnb right now. I know a lot of people are boycotting Airbnb right now. I am an Airbnb host. I do not even know if the co-founder, I'll be completely honest with you, I have not done any research on this, but I don't know if that co-founder that everybody's mad about is even still connected to Airbnb. And my general feeling is that man gonna be rich whether you get on Airbnb or not. He's still gonna make money off whatever else he has going on because he's no longer the founder of Airbnb. Like he's not an active. I don't think that he is an active employee at Airbnb anymore. the people that get hurt are people like me, the Airbnb owners. So just saying. But you are welcome to do whatever you want to do. I support people for leaning into whatever causes they want to lean into. Anyway, I all said all that to say, let me not go off on this tangent. I am very happy that my Airbnb is booked all through March. I'm just waiting for it was booked every weekend in February and every weekend in March. So thank you guys for supporting your girl. Me and my mama's Airbnb. So I have yet to have a bad experience on Airbnb. Really, I've had one bad experience on Airbnb, and that was over 10 years ago. I hold on, let me send this. I was trying to send this email, y'all. I did have an Airbnb that I did not love. So I think there's a couple of things that I think some things you have to accept you might not get right every time, right? And finding quote unquote catfish proof places is one of them. If you're part of travel groups, you can always ask people to share the places that they've stayed. A lot of content creators will share places that they've stayed as well, especially if it was aesthetic. As content creators love to share something that's aesthetic. Is this Instagrammable? It's getting posted. So you can also, use guidance from other folks. If that's something that you care about a lot, if you're very particular about where you stay, I'd say just stay at a hotel, right? You could stay at a hotel. Marriott has a lot of properties all over the world. So does Hilton. Stay at a really nice hotel. And of course, lean into the reviews. I think sometimes people are kind of nice about the reviews. It's tough on Airbnb because people be trying to be nice. Keep it real. People be trying to be nice on Airbnb. So the reviews are kind of tough. From a perspective of safety, the things that I tend to look for is is it in a building, like an apartment building? Because in a lot of countries, the apartment buildings will have an attendant. Like in South Africa and in Colombia, if you're staying in an apartment building, there's usually security in Colombia. And a lot of the buildings that I've stayed in South Africa, there are as well, where like when you come in and visit, you've got to sign in to go upstairs. Are there codes to enter the door? To get into the building and stuff like that. Those are just generally things that I try to look for. But I've been very fortunate on Airbnb that the places that I've stayed in has pretty much always been nice. This time in Vietnam, though, I stayed in a place that was just okay. It was an old building, and it just wasn't clean enough for me. And I am absolutely not a clean freak. I am not a germaphobe. I am not nitpicky about that. So if I'm complaining about this, y'all need to get it together. I literally told them I think they need to replace the handles and the shower head on their shower because I was a bit grossed out by it. They were super kind to me about it, and seemed to appreciate the feedback. And they tried to put me in another place of theirs, but I had already picked out a new place. So one of the things I would say is if you're going to be there for an extended period of time, so like you're going to be there for a month or longer than that, don't book an Airbnb right away, save a few of them, and then go there, maybe book a hotel for, the first 2 days, and then book the Airbnbs that you're looking at, like narrow it down to 2, especially if it's not that expensive. Like in Vietnam, the Airbnbs were like $20 a night, $35 a night. Book it for 2 days and stay in one of them to see if you like it, and then see if you can extend it and have the conversation with the owner about that as well. That's another option. Of course, you run the risk of it getting booked up, but I'd say reviews and also getting recommendations. And if you care that much, then I just say stay in a hotel. I just found out when I got to Bangkok last week that Marriott has apartments. I didn't know this. I know that they have like an Airbnb-esque, booking.com-esque things, but there's something called the Marriott Executive Apartments, where you have a kitchenette, you have a fridge, you have a desk. I stayed in one in Bangkok. It was actually quite nice. And come to find out, they have them in multiple other countries, countries as well. New information to me. And then there are also some pretty good apps out there now that's their focus. Their focus is long-term travelers. So like Sonder, they have places all over the world. And then there's another one that actually just reached out to me about doing a partnership. It's called Blue something. Let me. I actually need to hit them up. I actually need to hit them up now that I think about it. Um, they. I'm gonna see if I can find this. I'm gonna see if I can find this while I'm answering questions. But yeah, there's another site. So Sonder Outsite is another one, um, that they are focused on long-term travelers. You can, I think this one that I'm thinking about, you can only book it for a month, but Sonder, you can book for 2 nights, 3 nights a week, whatever the case may be. I think the one that I'm thinking about, you actually have to do it for a month. You're required to book for like a month. Okay. I'm not getting this email out. I should have sent it before. I should have sent it before the live. It's plain and simple. I hope that answered your question, the Good Life Starter Pack. Uh, do you think bopping around Thailand is a good way to celebrate? Oh, hell yeah, I think that's a great way to celebrate a birthday. What kind of question? You're not for real, right? You just wanted to invite me to your birthday. Like, that's not a real question. You just wanted to invite me to your birthday trip. Right. I'm just kidding. Yeah, Thailand's a vibe. I will say that my experience in Thailand 10 years ago, 8 years ago. Oh shit, it's almost been 10 years, y'all. 9 years ago. My experience in Thailand 9 years ago feels very different than my experience now. I haven't been back to Chiang Mai since I got back, but um, I see more non-Thai people on a day-to-day basis than I see Thai people. Like, these are expatriate cities at this point. You know, these are just expatriated cities. I was in Bangkok for a few days. I didn't spend a whole lot of time exploring around Bangkok, but I swear every single day I felt like I saw more Aussies, UK people, US people, and in Phuket, more Russians than I saw Thai people. And I know when I got to Chiang Mai in 2016, it was kind of at the early stage of like a lot of people expatriating to Chiang Mai. Um, and just the way I've seen online now, I'm going to go to Chiang Mai before I leave because I love that place. I expect to see the same. It's so interesting. All that to say, Thailand is a great place. It's some of the best food in the world. It's, you know, you get if you're in Bangkok, you can get like boom, boom, boom party vibes, good times. It's Bangkok's kind of like New York. It's a very metropolitan city, lots to do, lots of great food, lots of restaurants. If you go to Chiang Mai, it tends to be a little bit more like chill. I'd say Chiang Mai would be a great place for like wellness and chill. Not to say there aren't parties, because we definitely partied in Chiang Mai. And then Phuket is where a lot of people go to the beach. There's a lot of people here, and there's a lot of partying to be done here if you're trying to kick it for your birthday. So yes, I approve of this birthday trip. Let's see. I'm not afraid but worried the language. Oh yeah, somebody did ask about the language barrier. Let me get back to that question. Hide that. Hide that. Is it hard to get around not speaking the language? I can't say that it's been hard, right? It is a challenge in some cases, but I've not been many places where there's not someone that speaks English, that doesn't speak English. Hanoi, Vietnam gets a lot of visitors. Hanoi is a city of 8.8 million people, and I think Ho Chi Minh City is about 9 million people just that live there. And a lot of people that move to the bigger cities, they end up learning at least some English to work in a lot of the tourist in hospitality industries. And so Google Translate is my best friend. Okay. I need to get these Ray-Ban Metas because they apparently have a translator embedded in them. It can be hard to get around. So, if you are, I'm trying to think of the last time I was in a place where like people really did not speak English. I was in the village, but I was there with my friend's family who spoke English. I'm trying to think if I were there in that village and nobody spoke English, it would be really tough. Yeah. I'm sure it would be really, really hard if like nobody spoke English. But here's the thing, like people make do. Every time I've been in a situation where people don't speak English or their English is not that developed and I don't speak their language very well, every single time I have ever been in that situation, we figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Like these are things that can be figured out because a lot of time our body language is the same. Like we understand body language. Like you point to the thing, you point to me, like I want this, and then you do something like this, and they know that you mean that cost how much. Um, Sometimes people understand facial expressions or they understand the words that you're saying. Like you figure it out. Google Translate is fantastic. I have definitely had full on conversations with people, and we're just Google translating back and forth. It has happened. I mean, there are people who have been in whole relationships with folks that they don't speak each other's language, but they figured it out. Like they're dating, they're talking on Google Translate, and they're just working it out. So is it hard? Yes, but we can do hard things. We can figure things out. And if you are sticking to countries that that experience a lot of tourism, you're going to encounter people that speak English. Like somebody said, being afraid to go to Asia because of the language is so different. Yeah, but like again, you are very privileged to speak what is considered a global language. A lot of people in other countries, a lot of countries require their students to learn to speak English. And then a lot of countries, people, in order to get a leg up and get better jobs, they go and learn to speak English because that puts them at an advantage to be able to be exposed to working in different industries, working for different companies, and working in tourism, where you're probably going to get paid better and you're probably going to get tips because y'all know Americans like to tip folk. So I don't think that's something that I have ever worried about or felt in a tough position. Now, if you're doing things like going off the beaten path and going to small villages by yourself and yes, I'd be concerned. But if you are going, especially if you're going to a place and you're going to kind of be staying where a lot of visitors stay or a lot of expats stay, you'll be fine. That's not something that should deter you at all or make you afraid. It's just something that can be challenging at times, and you will figure it out. That's how I feel about it. Did I do the Exodus meetup in Vietnam? Did I? Of course I did. Of course I did. How could I not? It was too serendipitous, man. So how this whole thing happened was I was going to Vietnam for Lunar New Year. And Stephanie mentioned I was talking to Rashida, and Rashida was like, well, Stephanie's going to be in Vietnam too, I think. Hit her up. And at the time, Stephanie hadn't planned a meetup at all. She was just like, I'm going to Vietnam. I forget what she said she was going for. But she was going to Vietnam. And I was like, oh, when will you be there? Turns out we were going to be there at the same time. And my travel plans while in Vietnam were just to go, what is in my eyeball? My travel plans while I was in Vietnam were to go to Hanoi, then go to my friend's village, go to Hanoi for a few days, go to my friend's village south of Hanoi, and then go to Hoi An because I wanted to go to the Golden Hands Bridge because I didn't get to do that last time. So it's Da Nang, it's just outside of like Da Nang, Hoi An area, and then go hang out in Ho Chi Minh. Those were my plans. And at the time, Stephanie was saying she was going to be in Hanoi, and I was like, "Oh, perfect! I'm going to visit Hanoi as well." I hadn't decided where I was going to be for the full month. After one of my friends came with me for the first 2 weeks because she wanted to come to my friend's village as well, and then she left, and I was staying for a month. But I hadn't figured out where I was going to be for February. But I knew that 2 weeks was going to be Hanoi village, and Ho Chi Minh, and at some point I was going to go to Hoi An. Well, Stephanie decided to host a meetup. She was like, I'm going to tell people to come hang out with me in Vietnam. And 80 women came through. And she was telling people she was going to Hanoi. Come to find out, she was not. She was actually going to Hoi An. And thankfully, she was going to Hoi An around the same time I was going. So I was planning to go to Hoi An just to check it out and then go to the Golden Hands Bridge. I want to do a photo shoot there. And she was like, yo, hosting a meetup. And then Rashida was not going because Rashida was like, nah, you're going to Hanoi. I'm not trying to go to Hanoi. But she got FOMO, child. She got FOMO. So she decided to go. And I think the third night I was in Hoi An was the meetup, and it was amazing. We had a great time. Well, the official meetup, like there was a dinner that they hosted. The rest of it was like people just hanging out because we're all in the same city. There was a dinner, it was like 50 women, 50 women at dinner, 40 or 50 women at dinner. It was great. It was really great to see a lot of the faces that I have spoken with either in one-to-one coaching sessions or have communicated on workshops and been in attendance at some of the workshops that I have hosted with Exodus Summit. It was really, really, really cool. And I also got to see someone that was on my team, my girl Rhonda Clayton. She used to be one of the community managers and our programming manager for Quick Commuting. And we finally got to meet in person. Actually, I finally got to meet Rashida in person. Y'all know I never met Rashida in person. Like we've been online friends for 5 years. So it was great. It was really, really fantastic to see some of my friends there and to connect with some of the amazing women that are part of the Exodus Summit community. It's the community is such a vibe. Like Stephanie and Rashida have done a great job of cultivating a very beautiful community. And then the next night, Krishan from Black Sit Global, Stephanie and Rashida and myself went out to dinner together. My friend Sejal came too. And so we got to connect just as like, people who are very committed to providing resources to give women the type of freedom to be able to just show up in Vietnam to do a meetup. We just connected as people who are passionate about that and people who run communities and as generally as friends, in the background, like we, stepped away from our titles as community leaders and coaches and things like that, and just got to chat as friends about our lives and what we're excited about and what we're doing, which was fantastic. And then Rashida and I went on a girl date. So I took Rashida out to dinner my last night there, and we went to go hang out. So it was really great. I love connecting with people in person. I love connecting with people in person. It was really, really great. Okay. Oof. It was a very beautiful experience. Oh man, you weren't there. You were. I was there. You were there from February 20th to the 28th. Yeah, I was there for that amount of time. I want to say I was there for those dates. How'd you miss me? How did you miss me? Somebody said I was in Thailand 2 years ago too. We're thinking of coming there when we leave the EU zone next month. How has it changed in your opinion? It's just very, 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 very heavily. It's a lot of expats. Like I feel like the expat ratio has tipped. Like it's just so. Last night, Friday night, I went to Patong, which is I'm in Rawai, which is like so Phuket is, let's say, a city, and I'm on one side of it, and Patong is on the other side of it. And so it takes about 30 minutes to an hour to get to Patong from Rawai if you are like depending on what time of day. And that hour drive, I felt like for every one Thai person, I saw 3 to 5 non-Thai people. Like I saw so many more non-Thai people. And of course, I am in more tourist areas or more expat areas. A lot of people live here. A lot of Russians live here. A lot of Australian people live here. A lot of people actually move here from Europe. Like my Muay Thai coach is Greek. Another trainer here is French. There's a few French trainers here. There's some people here from Spain. So it's just really interesting how many people have moved here. Kind of reminds me of like being in New York, where you can be in New York and you just see so many people. And some of them are, were born in America, but a lot of them have moved out, moved to New York from other places. And it's almost like hard to tell who's who, is because it's such a international city, right? It's kind of hard to tell who's who until they start talking. And so that's almost what it has felt like in Phuket. I think that's how it's changed. I also the economy has changed a lot because of this. So these braids 10 years ago in Cape Town would have probably not existed because we weren't doing boho braids. But getting braids in Phuket or in Thailand 10 years ago probably would have cost me $30. These braids were $130. In the US, they would have cost more because these are, boho braids, and they're like backlink or something like that. So they would have definitely cost more in the US. So it's still not US prices, but it's pretty close to US prices. I went to the emergency room, not the emergency room. I went to urgent care, a clinic. Let me say that. I went to a clinic a few days ago because I was having some issues with my asthma, needed breathing treatments and some medicines. And still the same very efficient system of as soon as you get to the clinic, you see somebody, you see a doctor, they know what they're doing, they're going to give you a prescription, and you don't have to go to a pharmacy, you will leave with your medications. So the process is the same, but I left out of there paying about $130, which is only $20 less what I paid for the same service in Miami, minus the prescriptions. So I had to go to a clinic in Miami to get breathing treatments before, and I paid $150. And here I am in, um, here I you can spot a transplant from a mile away. It's hilarious. Here I am in Thailand paying only $20 more, and so that currency spread, you're not experiencing it as much because there are so many people here who have more money and are spending more money, and so now things are costing more money. And so I'm starting to see those Thailand prices are changing. Now that's not necessarily the case everywhere and in every circumstances. Taxi rides are still very inexpensive. I actually bought a sausage and some rice the other day, and it was, I don't know, 20 or 30 baht, which is probably less than $1. So it's not that way across the board, but there are some areas where I'm seeing that the economy is definitely changing, and they are charging us way more. So those are a few of the changes I've observed in just the few days I've been here. I want to caveat this with I've only been here for a week now, and I've spent a lot of time at the retreat. I'm not like deep in Phuket. Even when I was in Bangkok, I was focusing on getting work done, so I mainly stayed at my hotel. I didn't really get out into the city and venture out into the city that much. And so I'm going to caveat that with these are observations from a taxi for the most part. Okay. Let's see. Would you compare it to the expat tourists in Cape Town? What do you mean? Like compare it to the expats and tourists in Cape Town from a standpoint of like the amount of them or how they behave? I wouldn't. I'd say in Cape Town, the heavy tourist and expat areas are very concentrated. I know Cape Town better, so I think the difference between that and Cape Town is I know Cape Town a lot better than I know Phuket. Like I don't have a lot of friends who are Thai here, so it's not like I can leave from the expat areas and go to like where locals live and hang out the most and have a comparison like, oh, they're just not here because they don't live here. I don't see a lot of Thai people here. I mean, I can't say that I don't see a lot of Thai people here because they just don't live here. A lot of them don't live in the expat areas, right? Where a lot of the tourists and expats are. And so they come there to work and then they go home. And in Cape Town, I kind of move through multiple areas of those cities. And so, and I will say that I think the economy is different in South Africa, such that there are a lot more affluent South Africans than there are affluent Thai people who are living in some of the same places. Like I think there's a lot more places in Cape Town where you've got Cape Townians. You got South Africans living in the same places where an expat would live. And I will say I saw that in Vietnam as well. Don't get me wrong, but I do think that the Cape Town economy is likely stronger than the economy in Thailand. And so I think the economy plays a part in that as well. I believe that is, again, observations from a taxi and theories and that I'm throwing out there. I have never gotten the feeling in Cape Town that it is overrun with tourists. And I was not just there in November. I was in Joburg. I think certain areas in Cape Town have a lot of tourists and expats. But I think Cape Town is a little bit different for me because I can move through different communities with more ease because I just know the city. I just know the city better because I go there so much. Um, come through. Thailand's still here. Come through to Thailand. Uh, interesting. I'm a native New Yorker and lived in South Beach for 8 years. Miami and New York prices are crazy. True. Miami and New York prices are crazy. And when you think about it, it's the same concept. It's because so many other people are moving there, right? So housing becomes challenging. And when housing becomes challenging and inventory becomes low, prices start going up. And then when people with more money move to a place and can afford things, then the prices start going up. And both of those things are happening in Thailand, I think. Okay, I think I answered all of the questions that you guys asked here. Yeah, I think I answered all the questions that you guys asked here. Let me check my Instagram questions real quick. I don't want to leave people out. I don't like exclusion. I'm a fan of inclusion. Was that it? Are those all the questions? Can you offer for the errands? I swear I just saw a question where somebody asked me about dating. um, other apps and tips for planning trips. Google Flights is my best friend. Uh, I love Google Flights. A lot of people like to use, I use booking.com sometimes to book hotels. I'm a Marriott girl, so I tend to book hotels with Marriott directly. Um, but sometimes you go to a place that doesn't have Marriott hotels. And so booking.com has been great. I don't usually use third party apps. It's just not my thing. But I've had some really good, I booked some really good hotels on booking.com. The hotel that I stayed in Dalat, Dalat is a city in the south of Vietnam. It's kind of central, but more south in Vietnam, was so cute. Oh my God, it was so cute. Like somebody asked me about running group trips. I went there and was like, I need to run a group trip to Vietnam just so I can bring people here. I feel the same way about where I am right now. Like some places I go and it inspires me to want to run a group trip. Um, yeah, so third party apps like booking.com. I use a Notion template to plan out things. So I have not perfected my Notion template yet, but I can show you guys the kind of the first draft version of it that I have. Oh man, the one I used last year was really, really good. The one I used last year for planning my um, New Zealand trip was really good. Let me see if I have one that looks decent. Yeah. Okay. Before I show y'all my screen, let me make sure I have one that actually looks decent. Here, I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I'm gonna share my Notion template that I am still working on to plan out my trips. So I like using Notion. So sometimes I'll first use it like as a dumping ground. The good thing about Notion is you can do whatever you want with it. Um, you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. And so I have a travel vision board. These are the trips that I know I want to take this year. But I also have planned trips where I know I'm going. And it will have like my upcoming trips here. But my past trip, when I first planned Vietnam, and this makes it easy for me to share this with friends. I hope you guys are seeing this screen. Hold on, let me make sure you're seeing my screen. Okay, you are. This also makes it easy because I have a friend that was going on this trip and I needed to share information with her. So I can always make this a public page and just send it to her so she can get the stuff that's in here. And so I have like my task list in here, like things I need to do, book the cruise, dinner reservations. But what happens is I have a section for resources and inspo, and I just drop stuff in here. Like I literally just drop stuff in here. And then I have a section for lodging, like I put in the dates, like who's booking the lodging. And then when we booked it, I went ahead and put the link to which hotel we're staying in. And this is important because sometimes when you land and you're filling out the customs form, the form in customs, they ask for the address of where you're staying. Or if you apply for an e-visa for Vietnam, they are going to ask you the address of where you're staying, which can be confusing, just so you know, but you can figure it out. I may do like a little tutorial. Oh, that might be a good idea. So I put the actual hotels in here and then the itinerary. I'm not super, what is the word? I'm not super anal about the itinerary. I don't like over plan trips. I usually have a list of things that I'd like to do. And then as the trip gets closer, we just kind of go off vibes. Like even the day of, like I might plan something to do the next day. Like Wednesday, this is how we're feeling. Hey, let's do this tomorrow. I saw this thing on Airbnb experiences or get your guide or Viator. Let's see if we can do it tomorrow. So I actually do that a lot just because I don't necessarily like being locked into things. Some things I will absolutely book in advance, especially if I know I want to do it and it's very popular. I will book it well in advance. Like we did in New Zealand, we did a small airplane flight to take a boat to go see this beautiful waterfall. And the airplane flight was, slightly expensive. And they only fly so many planes a day and they can only carry so many people. And so I booked that well in advance. So things like that. But like the Halong Bay tour where you do like a boat cruise, there's so many of those boat cruises. You can book those 2 days in advance. It might limit which boats you can get on, but there's so many of them. But like, so I'll pull out an itinerary, and usually when I'm doing this, I am just kind of spitballing things, and then this just gets to be a bit more organized or set in stone the closer we get to the trip. And it is still also guidance. So like this place right here, there's this apartment building in Ho Chi Minh City that is nothing but cafes. So it's called the Apartment Cafe, the Cafe Apartments. And I really wanted to go there. But I didn't know if we needed to go there for breakfast or if we need to go there for lunch or what day we would feel like doing this. And so I put it on this day as something that we could opt to do and maybe go to the market. We end up not going to the market that day. We end up going a different day. But I like to have like, here's some things I know we might want to do type of plan. And then sometimes I'll do a packing list and close. I'm trying to start doing journaling and notes so that I can remember some things from the trip and like, keep up with some of the things I learned. And then I also put my visa document here so that when I got to Hanoi, if I needed to show my visa, I had a place where I could easily access it. Now it's saved in my phone as well, but I wanted to have a backup place to access it. So I also attached it to this as well. So that's a planning tip and a planning app that I would throw out there. Some people like to use TripIt for stuff like this, which is also beneficial as well. TripIt is a pretty good tool. What I like about TripIt is that once you log in and set up all your stuff, when you get email confirmations, it automatically pulls it into TripIt as well. So that's another tool that can be used. Someone had a question. How are you getting around Vietnam? Full disclosure, I'm no longer in Vietnam. I am in Thailand now. But how I was getting around Vietnam, the traffic is psychotic. Traffic in Hanoi and in Ho Chi Minh is psychotic. Let me be more clear. Not the whole country. Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh are major cities. There are 9 million people in each of those cities. 8.8 million, I think 8.9 in Ho Chi Minh, 8.8 in Hanoi. So hell yeah, traffic is terrible. Therefore, and also wet air quality is also pretty terrible, guys. So bring a mask. A lot of places that you'll stay in or go to will have air purifiers as well. These are huge cities. So yeah, traffic is pretty freaking terrible. So they have their version of Uber. Actually, there's a couple of versions of Uber in Southeast Asia. When I was first here, Uber was in Vietnam. No, it was not. That's a lie. It was a taxi app. Uber was in Thailand the first time I was here 10 years ago. But I use an app called Grab to get around. But for the most part, I like to be places where I can walk around a lot. So this is why I'm also likely going to be in the expat touristy areas because they're going to have things that are easy for me to walk to. I love walking. I actually hate having to own a car. I like walking and I like public transportation. I like public transportation because it's easy to multitask while I'm doing it. So I can listen to a book, read a book, write, do work. And I like walking because I like being active and I like being outside. And I like seeing things. I see so much when I'm able to do that. And so the area that I stayed in, getting around on a day-to-day basis, I walked. My gym was a 15-minute walk. My boxing gym was a 3-minute walk. Anywhere that I wanted to eat, there were places like right outside my door. The markets, there were markets everywhere, but the market that I went grocery shopping at was a 15-minute walk as well. So your girl was getting her steps in every day. But if I needed to go to the old quarter, which was the more touristy area, so I'd say there's an expat area and a touristy area. If I needed to go to the old quarter, it was like 20-minute drive. So I would just get a Grab. I would just get a taxi. They have a version of Uber called Grab. And I like Grab because, like, I'm gonna tell y'all something. These countries was on this way before Uber got on it. You can order food, and I could do this years ago, a long time ago. Man, my mouth is so dry. Probably all these medicines they got me taking. But yeah, I was ordering food like way before Uber started doing that. Interestingly enough, but it's easy to get around. Vietnam also has a bus system that I have not utilized. I have taken public transportation in a lot of countries. I've taken public transportation in Bangkok. Have I done it in Chiang Mai, South Africa, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur? Oh, and then no, I was about to say you can get around via tuk tuk as well. So they do have tuk tuks in Vietnam. So if you're just going close by, and I will say in Vietnam, it is more popular to ride a motorbike. So depending on where I'm going, if it's a short ride, I would take a bike. So you can get an Uber, but he's on a motorbike. He or she is on a motorbike, and you just get on the back and ride out. So that's my mode of transportation if I'm not going far. It is a little nerve-wracking to ride those bikes because their traffic patterns are very different from ours. And having observed it for a long period of time, because it's intriguing to me how they move through traffic without the rules that we have in the United States. Of course, they have stop signs and stoplights and lanes and shit, but a lot of times those are guidance. Unless you're in a major street, that stuff is just guidance. But on major streets, it's like, especially around the government buildings, these are rules. Their traffic patterns is very much like about flow, right? And so it's really about everyone moving and paying attention to what they are doing versus worrying about what other people are doing. In the United States, the way we drive, we are worried about what other people are doing. So if you see someone looking like they're about to swerve, we will stop, right? And or somebody looking like they're swerving into your lane, you'll stop. But theirs is really more about just how you flow. It's really it's interesting, and I'm writing a whole little blog post about this because it feels almost like a metaphor of like worry about yourself and trust other people to worry about themselves. It's like you're focused on what you're doing and how you fit into the scheme, and you trust other people to do the same. It's kind of how it looks to me. Not saying they don't have accidents. Obviously they do. I think any place with vehicles has accidents. And crossing the street, someone mentioned crossing the street. Listen, I feel like if you can cross the street in Southeast Asia and in Africa, you need to put that on your LinkedIn and on your resume because it is a skill, okay? But when you learn that your job is to focus on yourself and how you flow into the system and not worry about what other people are doing, which is truly a metaphor, y'all, then you'll be fine. Every time I've ever crossed the street and worried about, hold on. Asthma trying to get me, y'all. Excuse me. Every time I've ever crossed the street and found myself worried about what someone else is doing versus worried about me, and when I say worried about what someone else is doing, a lot of times we're trying to anticipate someone else's moves, right? So it looks like you might hit me, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to back up. Every time I've ever done that, it has gone wrong. And whenever I have focused on just how do I fit into this flow and just moved and kept moving forward. You never go backwards if you're crossing the street in Vietnam. Never, ever go backwards. If you need to stop, and then slowly move forward, but always forward and always worry about yourself. I'm talking about these are metaphors for life. Having observed the traffic, and I intentionally observed the traffic because this was intriguing to me. It moves a lot better. So anyway, this a bit of a tangent, but getting around in Vietnam is it's pretty easy. Like it might take you a while to get to certain places. So for instance, they do have rush hour traffic just like we do. So if I had to go to the Old Quarter at like at like 2 or 3, I'm trying to get back before I know if I have to go at 3, I'm probably not going to get back in a good time because I'm going to be in rush hour traffic coming back. So if I got to go to the Old Quarter in the afternoon, I'm trying to leave the Old Quarter and get back to my part of town by 3:30ish before traffic starts real bad, because once traffic hits, it can take an hour to get back. So yeah, traffic is really bad in Ho Chi Minh and in Hanoi because they are very large cities. I mean, I think that's larger than New York. What's the population in New York? Let's see. NYC, which is wild because New York is actually not a large city. It's just got a lot of people. NYC population, 8.2. So they're bigger than New York. Both cities are larger than New York. She said I'm gonna have to book a grab to get me across the street. It's truly an exercise in trusting yourself and trusting people, to be honest, because it's almost like a system where we all trust each other to do the right things. Like we all want to get home, right? And so you kind of got to figure out how you flow into the system, trust yourself, trust other people, and keep moving forward. This is why I'm writing an essay about this, because I'm watching this and I'm like, this is such a metaphor for life. And also, if you can successfully cross the street in Southeast Asia or in Ghana, Kenya, put it on your resume. My daughter used to be scared whenever she was scared to do stuff. I used to be like, girl, you cross streets in Thailand, you can do anything. Yeah, let's see. You'd be scared to cross the streets. It's fine. You'll figure it out. You'll see your openings, you'll go. And here's the thing, you like pause in the middle of the street when there's cars coming, and then you keep going. It's like you go, you wait, you go, you wait, you go. You're done. I actually one day crossed the street and I put a camera on my shirt so that you could see what I'm seeing. I'm gonna figure out how to share that footage. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna act like it's not nerve-wracking. One thing I'm not about to do is pretend like it's nerve-wracking. But honestly, every time I have just gone with the flow and trusted myself and just figured out how I fit into the flow and not really worried about what people were about to do, it's been so much easier to cross the street. So you'll be fine. People cross the street all the time. Question about dating. How is it? I don't know because I haven't been doing it. I get on the apps. I'm so bad. I get on the apps and I talk to people and then I just kind of forget to check in. I was talking to this guy in Bangkok from Chicago for a minute. He was really cute, but it just didn't pan out. And I was there for a very limited time. I think he's going to be there for a while. And I was only there for like 3 or 4 days. And I think, I don't know, he took too long to ask me out. And don't hit me with why did you ask him out? I actually invited him out. I was supposed to go to dinner I had made reservations at a place, reservations for 2, for me and a friend, and she wasn't feeling well. And so she couldn't go. And I was like, well, I have this reservation if you want to join me. He didn't decline. He was asleep because he was working US hours. So he wasn't able to go, but all I'm saying is I put it out there. And so he had the opportunity to be like, oh man, well, let's hang out this time anyway. He did not. So he was chatting. Like, why are we chatting? Sir, I'm going to be here for 3 days. We don't kick it or not. All right. That's it. I think that's all the questions. I think I hit every single question that I got asked, and we've been here for slightly over an hour. This was fun. I love doing these. I will be back on some type of regular schedule. It's just been hard because I have to get up so early in the morning to do these. But I am sleeping a lot more. And yeah, I just missed talking to folks and connecting with folks. So you'll see me a little bit more on these YouTubes. Thanks for coming to hang out and ask me questions about Vietnam. You know what? I thank you for saying that, but I don't even feel that way. I feel nothing about it. Like, I think it is also possible to feel completely neutral about a situation. Like, neither one of us missed out on anything necessarily because we weren't, like, if we didn't meet, it's because we weren't meant to meet, I guess. Like, it's just, I feel completely neutral about it. I don't think he lost anything, and nor did I. Um, eh. So, if we were meant to meet, we will meet. Maybe he'll end up in Chicago when I'm in Chicago. Maybe not. He was a cutie though. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's tough to miss what you've never had, right? He's never met me. I definitely would have enhanced his life for sure, even if it was just, a dinner. I do agree with you about that. Even if we had just hung out for an hour, I definitely would have enhanced his life for sure. Definitely believe that. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you guys out here in these internet streets. Feel free to pop on to the March Life Update and ask some questions. And then I have some more videos coming out this week. We're going to talk about some side hustles. And if you want to join my email list, you guys can get on it here. Email me, Lib. You can hop on it there. I send an email out most Sundays. I took a month off because I was just tired of creating content. But that email list is really my random thoughts and musings. You might see stuff like me talking about crazy ping pong shows that I went to, or you might see me talking about this example that I just shared where I'm noticing these traffic patterns, and it turns into this, thought about how we move through life as well. So sometimes it's a little deep, sometimes it's a little silly, and sometimes I talk about my dating life, and sometimes I talk about things that I'm challenged with and dealing with and trying to be better at. So it's very random, but yeah, join the email list. It's some things on Sunday, and this is how you can join. If you go to bit.ly/email me lib, you will be on the email list, and you'll actually get the last email I sent, which was a little juicy. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a great Sunday night. Have a great Sunday night, and have a great week next week. Bye, y'all.